going to show you something that'll probably piss you off, because it did to me when I saw it. Take a look at this video. Now, that last part, if you can just rewind it a little bit, Andy, go to that last part. That last part is, I'm not talking about the touchdown. That didn't piss me off. But we'll get back to that video in a moment. But it was the video of that trooper, in case you did not see it. Safety in Texas. Now, let me tell you, I watched that video from that was the Texas A&M game in South Carolina. And I sat back in my chair and I said, well, are we doing this again like this in 2025 in front of 100,000 people? That trooper did that, a national audience. Are we still doing this? Yes, we are. Because what happened to those South Carolina players, especially that was Nyck Harbor, it wasn't just outrageous, obviously unnecessary. And it was just a bad look. And I think it's a bad look for law enforcement. I have to be honest. It was a power trip. A man with a badge following these young athletes, black athletes, into a tunnel during a live game just so he could confront them. Now, he's supposed to be the law and order person. And yes, I said followed, because I want to get the facts right here, okay? Nyck Harbor, I want you to remember this. He's a 19-year-old young man. He's a sophomore, incredible athlete, a star in the making. He just caught this pass, 80-yard touchdown. This wasn't some routine play. This was a statement, the kind of play that electrifies a stadium. Everybody's screaming, right? Even if you're the visiting team. So the momentum of that run sent him barreling into the tunnel, and then I guess his hamstring was hurt. And you can see him limping. The crowd was roaring. He's limping, from the effort. And then you can see him trying to catch his breath. And then his teammates gather around him. And then what happens next? He doesn't even get a second to compose himself or to walk it off. That state trooper, not stadium security, I don't know what he was. I don't know. He wasn't a trainer. He was a Department of Public Safety trooper, walks into that tunnel, follows these young men, and then cuts between Harbor and his teammates. Now, it is unbelievable. I want to bring in now former police officer Michael Fanone. Michael, thanks for joining. Would you ever behave like that when you're an officer?
I mean, did I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah, it's called policing with your ego. I mean, is it right? No. Do I think that I mean, listen, the player, this 19-year-old kid that you described, was where he was supposed to be, doing what he was supposed to be doing. That trooper's conduct was inappropriate, outrageous, but I'm not going to say something to the effect of it's not representative of our officers or our agents. And I think that it's fine time that law enforcement, in an effort to be transparent, starts letting the public know how it is that they are disciplining their officers when they engage in such public displays of inappropriate and aggressive conduct.
Well, okay, we're going to disagree this time for one of the first times. I don't think he should be suspended. I think he should be fucking fired, because you're supposed to be the person there who's keeping the order in the stadium, and then you have a deliberate, like he shoulder checks that guy, right? He's just like, get the fuck out of here. That's deliberate contact. And that makes me like, when you see, and you can see his body language, it was intentional. And then he turns and points at them like they're a kid, like, get the fuck out of here. Who the fuck do you think you are? Like he's laying down the law, like he's policing them. It's like, what? Can you imagine how that guy treats people when there are cameras rolling? Can you imagine how he treats people? So I think he should be fired. And people are not saying, they're just saying it's an ego. And then there is a response from the Department of Public Safety. I think it's some fucking racist bullshit is what I think. I grew up in Louisiana. I went SEC school, LSU. We played the Texas Aggies. But I know that shit. When you see someone do that, get the fuck out of here, you're like, oh, here we go again. Here's a report, Michael, and then we'll talk about it.
At 7:13, the Texas Department of Public Safety is reviewing footage of an interaction between a state trooper and a college football player caught on camera. It happened at Saturday's matchup between Texas A&M and South Carolina. You can see the DPS trooper bump into Gamecocks wide receiver Nyck Harbor and others. The heated exchange quickly spread on social media. It even caught the attention of NBA superstar LeBron James, who called out the trooper on X, saying he believed the nudge was premeditated and that the trooper should be suspended. In a statement, DPS writes, quote, "The trooper involved was sent home from the game. Our Office of Inspector General is also aware of the incident and will be further looking into the matter," end quote.
I don't think that's enough. It wasn't just LeBron James. Well, Stephen A. Smith said something, but whatever. This is Ryan Clark. I want you to hear Ryan Clark.
What happened at the Texas A&M South Carolina football game is unacceptable for an officer who is there to protect everyone in the stadium to walk toward those young players with that level of aggression, that level of intention, that level of purpose, and that purpose being nothing for good is something that just can't happen. And now, if you are these young men's parents, this is worst case scenario for you. This is something you've coached your kids through. You've told them how to behave. You told them what to say. You've told them how to look. And you've told them all of these things just to stay alive. And so now in this situation, someone who is in that stadium to protect them is the aggressor. And here's my biggest problem with the whole thing. There was 100,000 people in the stands. There were two entire football teams on the field, and there were millions of people watching on TV. So what kind of decisions does this officer make when no one is watching, when there are no immediate consequences? And thank God that Texas A&M acted extremely quickly to at least try to rectify the situation so everyone on that football field and in those stands could feel safe. But this is a cautionary tale. This is a warning. There are those people that feel so entitled and so empowered and have that level of audacity and also intoxication on power that they believe that they're above the law. It's not just about protecting those young men on the field, which is something we have to do. It's about protecting those young people in these streets, in these schools, that just walk around in everyday life from those who don't understand the power of the badge and the responsibility of it. Thank God today worked out the way it did and we got a great SEC battle. But not every young man is so lucky.
Okay, so look, they're being nicer than I am. They still are in corporate media. Let me say this with my full chest. That was a cop hopped up on power and it was racist, period. You don't need a panel discussion to see it. You don't need a PhD or a think tank. You can watch that tape and the truth just jumps right out you as to what it is. That was a man in uniform. He wanted to remind this group of young black men right in the middle of their moment that he was the authority in the building and he wanted in the stadium. He wanted dominance and he wanted the last word. He wanted them to feel small. And so that's how I feel about this.
I mean, listen, like, it's not that I disagree with you. It's that, I mean, you asked me to come on the show and give you my opinion as a former law enforcement officer. And I'm telling you in, complete and total honesty and transparency about my own career. Were there times where I policed with my ego? Yes. Were there times that, now I didn't ever put hands on somebody in an inappropriate manner or assault somebody, which, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, that is an assault. What that officer did, there was absolutely no need for it. Could
he be charged?
I mean, he could be. I think ultimately, I don't know how the criminal justice system works in the state of Texas, but I think it would be on the player, who he or the players who he made contact with to file charges against him for, what appeared, at least to me, to be a simple assault or a misdemeanor assault. Because at the end of the day, you can't make contact with somebody in that manner, which he clearly intended to do. Like I said before, the player and players were doing what they were supposed to be doing, where they were supposed to be doing it. There was no reason for that officer to come in contact with them at all. I mean, my message to law enforcement, I think, and kind of in the vein of what you were saying, Don, is, police officers, at least the vast majority of them that I've talked to, and myself, during my career, we don't like to be accused of racism. But my message to them would be, if you don't like being stereotyped, stop living up to the stereotypes that have been applied to you by vulnerable communities of color specifically. That would be my message, because this clearly, I mean, looking at the incident, I'd be curious. I'd be willing to entertain the thought of firing this officer if they did a deep dive and found that he had a history of this type of conduct and behavior. Then clearly this is not somebody who should be wearing a badge. Because again, if he can't behave himself in a professional manner in a situation which didn't require his presence at all, that he inserted himself into it, then I can't even imagine what, a situation, a high stress situation in which he might come in contact with other, human beings, American citizens, might look like.
Yeah. Look, I invited you in the show because I respect your opinion and I respect what you're saying now. I just said I just have a different take, and we don't always have to agree. You know that, right?
I don't think we disagree, Don. I think it just comes down to you have a history of interactions with law enforcement, just like so many people in this country have a history of interactions with law enforcement officers. And I think I tend to agree with you. I think it's fine time that law enforcement acknowledges that, and that would go a long way to repairing, or at least starting to rebuild trust with communities that have been adversely impacted by police officers.
Yeah, well, let me say this, because maybe you'll agree. I do think that some people may say it's not racist or whatever. You can't say that. There's a sense of entitlement there, right? Or privilege there.
Absolutely.
Because the reason that he felt so comfortable that he did it so casually is because, as you say, this kind of behavior has been rewarded or protected or excused in this country for such a long, long time. He didn't even think twice. And I think his body language, and again, as you say, I have experience. I grew up in the South. I grew up in Louisiana, which is the next state over from Texas. I'm very familiar with this whole thing. His body says that I can, his body language says I can get away with this because I have a badge. And then these kids won't challenge me. His ego said I can punk these young men in front of everyone. He did not even think twice about it, Michael, while all of these people were in the stadiums. It was just, it just brought me back. It was triggering for me for having been treated that way by law enforcement. And so, when people say, well, I don't know what pornography is, I can't define it, but I know it when I see it.
Yeah.
I know it when I see it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not saying that he's not, that his actions weren't motivated by some type of bias or racism. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying that, looking at that as a former police officer, within the four corners of that actual event, I wouldn't be so quick to label that. But it's not to say that it's not wholly inappropriate behavior that should be punished. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. So you think he should be at least suspended for that behavior, and then and his background should be checked. And I guess I don't know if his name is out there. I haven't dug into it that much, but I think it might be. So yeah.
Yeah, yes, I think that that it should be. He should be. His conduct in the past should play a part in how he's punished for this event as well. But I also think that it's on the Texas Department of Public Safety to be transparent and talk about, what punishment was given to this officer, and also what in his past may be relevant to what we witnessed, so publicly at that game.
You were watching the game. You saw this happen.
I did. I didn't understand. I didn't really realize what was happening in the moment. All I know is the kid just caught some 80-yard fucking pass and scored a touchdown. And it looked from what the announcer said, it appears he's pulled a hamstring, and the last thing you want to do when you pull the hamstring is just stop instantaneously. You want to continue to move and stretch it out. And so that's what it looked like he was doing. And then I kind of saw this, interaction with the trooper. But I mean, in the moment, I didn't realize what the hell was happening.
And then afterwards, you're like, holy shit.
I mean, and then afterwards, I'm like, yep, here we go. It's like another incident where an officer behaves like a complete and utter asshole on the national stage. And it just takes away from, good police officers who are out there trying to conduct themselves in a professional manner. But again, like this has been, kind of like my mantra ever since I got out of law enforcement, that I think that real transparency in law enforcement has to include owning up to, the crimes of our past and some of the things that we've been a part of that have really destroyed the trust of the American people. I mean, hell, Don, we're experiencing some of those things in real time today.
Yeah, we are. Well, let us know what you think in the comments. Michael Fanone, thank you.
Good to see you, Don.
Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a show. We're live every weekday at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time with new clips dropping at 2 p. and 8 p. And if you want even more Don Lemon Show content, join the Lemon community. Members get exclusive posts, behind-the-scenes videos, and live chats just for you. So hit the join button or visit our channel page to sign up. Thanks again for all your love and your support, and I'll see you next time.